Hey there, going to talk with you today about a condition called wicking. This is your carpet, this is your pad underneath, and underneath that you would have a subfloor. When a spill occurs, depending on the quantity, it will eventually go down into the padding and eventually into the subfloor of your home. Now this water, I'm just using water, but just imagine this might be urine or a coffee spill or something. This carpet is pretty new, so it probably has more protectant than a carpet that's been 5 or 6 years old. And you can tell that the water's not really soaking down that quickly, but it's still soaking down. A newer carpet that has protectant built into it will repel it even more than this, but no matter what, between these fibers you have air gaps, and that water eventually is going to work its way down here. And eventually it's going to, let's see if it's there yet. It's not there yet, so we're going to wait a couple of minutes. I might even pour some more water on just to speed up the process here. You can already see a dark mark forming in the center, and that's where it's really starting to penetrate deep into the carpet. Alright, so let's see what's happening underneath here. It's starting to form. You can see that right here, it's starting to form water. And eventually what's going to happen, this will get wet as this soaks down through here, and it'll get the backing of the pad wet and eventually the subfloor. Alright, so what happens with wicking is, let's say that you've cleaned this all up and you're able to get all the stuff out of the carpeting. It looks fantastic. And the next day you walk back into your carpet that you just spot cleaned, and it's back. The spot is back. Let's say it's coffee. What is happening is this pad underneath here has collected that spill, and it's now redepositing the spill back up into the pad, or the carpeting. Carpeting always dries from the bottom up. So if you have contamination in your subfloor, it's eventually going to work its way up into the padding and eventually up into your carpeting. This especially happens with oil-based spills, and a little bit less so with water-based. Now, coffee is considered an oil-based spill, believe it or not. Even though it's a liquid that's mostly water, there's a film of oil on the outside of coffee beans called tannin. And that tannin has a tendency to stay oily and will wick back up into your carpeting. So you may clean this from the top side several times and it looks fantastic. You go to bed, you wake up the next day, and there it is again. Anytime you've re-wet the top side of the carpeting too, you've expedited the wicking process, because as much as you may try not to get this backing wet, it'll still become a little bit more humid, and again, carpet always dries from the bottom up, so it's going to be starting to pull that spill from the subfloor or the pad back up through the backing, through the surface of the carpeting. One way to find out if it is wicking is typically you can look down after you spot cleaned and look at the fibers themselves, and if the top third of the fiber is affected but the bottom third looks just fine, that means it is definitely wicking, because the carpet again dries from the bottom up and that soil has deposited itself at the top third of the fibers. There's a way that you can prevent this. The surefire way to prevent this is to ensure that the pad is also cleaned or replaced in that contaminated area. The other way is to do a topside weighted system, where we're going to, instead of having the carpet become the last thing to dry, we're going to stack up towels, put it over top of here. So let's say if we have 4 to 6 towels, white towels, make sure they're white so that you don't transfer the color from the towel back into the carpeting. Stack up 4 to 6, put something heavy on it like a book or a brick, and what will happen is that wicking will actually go up and not stop in the carpeting. It'll go up and wick into the towels that have been applied to the top. The weight is there to hold it down and prevent and actually make a better contact surface to that spill. Without the weight, it may still work, but it's always better to weight it down. Be sure that when you weight it down, that whatever you put on top of there is not going to fall apart from getting humid or wet, because like a book, for instance, if you have a nice book you put on top of there, it may start to pull that book apart. The glue may start separating because the moisture from the wicking is actually penetrating through those top layers of your towels. All right, so that's wicking 101, and just know that whenever you have a spill, chances are, if it's pretty big, it's gone down into the pad. The carpet is a multi-surface installation, and if you have recurring issues, then you need to stop that wicking. All right, give us a call at 810-225-2184 if you're having problems with that, and we'll be glad to help you out in any way we can. Thanks.